A very pleasant morning to one and all present here. I am delighted to welcome you all to the start of new academic year. I would like to, I requested you to stand for Tamil Thai Vazhuthu.
வாழ்வின செம்மையை செய்பவள் நீயே, ஆண் புகழ் நீயே, என் தமிழ் தாயே. வீழ்வாரை வீழாத காவலே, வீரனின் வீரமும் வெற்றியும் நீயும். தாழ்ந்திடும் நிலையினில் உனை விடுப்பேனும், தமிழனை நாளும் தலை குனிவேனும். சுழ்தின்பம் நல்கிடும் பைந்தமிழண்ணன், தோன்றுடல் நீருயிர் நான் மறப்பேன். செந்தமிழே உயிரே நலந்தேனே, செயலினை மூச்சினை உனக்கறித்தேனே. ஐந்தாயன ஐந்து போகும் என் வாழ்வு, நல்லினை உனக்கென எனக்குண்டான். முந்தைய நாளினில் அறிவும் இல்லாது, மொழித்தனம் மனிதர புது புதர் மீது. செந்தாமரை காண போதது போலே, செழித்த என் தமிழே ஒளியே வாழி. செழித்த என் தமிழே ஒளியே வாழி. செழித்த என் தமிழே ஒளியே வாழி.
Please be seated. Now I would like to welcome our beloved principals, vice principals, HODs, branch in charges, and the teachers and our beloved HOE sir for this training program on the capacity building program 24-25. The first session on assessment and evaluation implementation will be conducted by the principal AVRS Porayur. I would like to welcome to take over the session. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for placing me on this maiden dais. Thank you all educators for having placed you with Aditya and for having placed you with us today in Aditya. I just want to make this session making sure that I am aware of the shortcomings and the limitations that I will be facing during the session. Number one, I won't be able to have interactive sessions because the group will not be there and the teachers in large number. I won't be able to make them seated in a group. So group activity in a session like our training of this kind may be possible. And mostly I know it's going to be a kind of presentation or lecture, and the session will be with a series of information, plethora of details related to the assessment and evaluation and its implementation. That is the title given to me. So I would rather welcome you to feel free to ask me anything that you feel. Just raise your hand, I'll be there to attend to your requirement. And the number of slides in the PPT that I'll be using to present the details on the topic given may be really large, but I don't think that I'll be extending the time that is allotted to you for the session that is lasting for 90 minutes. So whatever is the number of slides that are left over will be left over, and it will be open for you to go through and learn further anytime. But if it is possible for me to throw light on all the slides, on all the aspects. I know it's not possible yet. Let's see how far we can reach, right? And I request you to start with the first slide. And before we begin this Aditya's culture on training the teachers, getting the educators professionally developing and instilling in them the capacity building deserves to be appreciated. And one point at the outset itself I want to put forward is to put you as a request again to give respect to time. Those who doesn't respect time doesn't deserve to be respected. Make it as a policy as genuine educators, leaving alone the genuine reasons for which you may be able to attend or present yourself on time, on the dot. Right? Now, I would like to begin in a very casual manner, maybe formally, we will enter into the session. But when we talk formally, but it's still in a traditional and a classical context, I would like to recall the lines of Sangatan Sukta, which says Sangachatvam. Let's come together. Good morning, sir. Thank you for. So we would like to extend our great deal of gratitude to Aditya for having given us this wonderful day. So as I told you, I'll begin the session presentation with the Sangatan Sukta that I really like in a traditional way. Let us recall on Sangachatum, let's come together. Samvadatvam, let's talk to each other. Samvamanamsi Jnanatam, let's apprehend alike. Let whatever we think be for the good of everyone. This culture is the culture which is a heritage of our own institution. So when you speak of Aditya, we think of the quality enhancement in teaching and testing. Teaching and testing. When I talk about teaching as educators, we dwell in that. Testing is essential in terms of assessment, in terms of evaluation, leaving alone the understanding on the importance of knowing the differences on what is assessment, what is evaluation, how they go in keen conjunction so we are able to implement it. So the title given to me is assessment, evaluation, and its implementation. So when it comes, I'd like to start the session with, with a quote that I've heard decades back when I was a student. At times, a tiny little fault might cause a great deal of suffering, and thereby we may seek to doubt the law of action and result. I repeat, this is a line said by Yogiraj Vedatri Maharshi. At times, a tiny little fault might cause a great deal of suffering, and thereby we may seek to doubt the law of action and result. After repeating also, most of you, I'm sure, may not be understanding exactly what these lines, what this quote refers. But if I go for an analogy, it'll be very easy to comprehend and get the idea of exactly what are these verses. And it comes parallelly also in terms of the words of the couplets by Thiruvalluvar also, which says, Seidakka alla seyakadum seidakka seyamayanam kadum. Nanmayum தீமையும் நாடி நலம்பயக்கும் தன்மையால் ஆளப்படும். So let us go back to understand the verses that I told you in English, which is having a parallel analogy. Think of a common balance. The pans are empty on the right as well as on the left. When both the when both the pans of the balance are empty, the pointer stands steady at 90 degrees. But if you take slightly add to the right, because commodity is added on the right, weight is on the left, because commodity has to match with the weight on the left. So slightly add to the right. Pointer alarmingly tilts towards the right. So even if the slightest mistake that you commit in your life is going to make you feel the alarming indication of the pointer tilting towards the right. This alarming is the result of the action. So the law of action and result, the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. நன்மையும் தீமையும் நாடி நலம்பயக்கும் தன்மையால் ஆளப்படும். Assessment, evaluation, மதிப்பீடு, ஒப்பிடுதல். Why we are worried about these words? Because we should understand how things match, how your actions match with the futuristic approach as efficient, genuine educators for building up talents, supporting education in our children. The trust in us is so much that we should be able to evaluate ourselves, assess ourselves, to be fit, to be competent, to be proficient, and to be efficient for our children can be beneficiaries. The ultimate beneficiaries comes to teaching and testing of whom? We in education institution, or we test the students and we teach them. So that's why it's important to understand this. So let's understand the way we should go forward for being educators with the trust by the parents and the institution on us. Let's relax. I don't want to be very serious in the early morning. So I'll go with few questions. And the questions are going to come in front of you in air. You catch the questions and keep in mind and see who can come forward with the answer for which question. And you just have to raise the hand. Any question that you feel you have the answer to say as an interactive efficiency. You can come forward, give the answer, but the questions will be in series. How many of you are going to be efficient in catching up the question and knowing the answer, or coming forth with the answer that may be appreciated and understood by others? Let me go with the questions. It's not too many questions, it's not too less also. A moderate, optimal number of questions. So are you ready to catch up the questions? Can I expect you to come back to me with the answers spontaneously? If it is wrong or right, I'm not going to be worried, because I told about the logic of nature's law in terms of the version that I compared with the common balance. And I told you, you have to be very careful in your actions. Your deeds should be measured, right? So when you say logic, logic is science of reasoning. Okay, so when you go for science, it's actually knowledge of facts. Fact is already existing, but when we have the knowledge of facts, it's science. Okay, wetenschap is what wetenschappers doen. That's a scientist statement in Dutch. It says science is what scientists do. They do because they want to know exactly what the fact is, how the fact exists, how can it be evidenced. So accordingly, if you say science is the knowledge of facts, but logic is the science of reasoning. Okay, and we are trying to make the science of reasoning the nature's law. Nature's law is that if you commit, you will get back. As you sow, so you reap. Jaise boge, vaise paoge. So this logic is coming. So logistic is something that will be assessed by anybody at any time, even including you who will be sitting in front of the people or a panel who will be interviewing you, to see how good you are in your logistics. So these logistic questions can be like something like, so why are the manholes always round in shape, not square? Why, when you have a railway platform, it has got two escalators moving up and one coming down? How can you push an elephant into a refrigerator? You have three switches in a room. Next to the room where there are three bulbs, how will you align each switch to the bulb concerned in the room which is darker? So these are the questions that I thought I'll put in front of you. So can you come forward with answers for such questions? I can add on many such questions, so you can come up with the answers, but all questions are logistic based. And your response is something like this. So let me see if there is any participant who is coming forward with answer for any question. If you like many such questions, I can come forward with over a dozen questions also of this type. But let me limit it to a time. expecting you to come forward with a limited number of questions for which answer can come spontaneously. Come forward. Who is having answer for any question you go answer related to the question that I asked? Yes. Nobody is answering. You have to participate. Your presence has a value. Your voice has a say, and you have a say. It has a value. Do not, stop it from being merited. Come on. You want me to ask question by question? So you'll come, okay. Let me go with a question. Forget all the questions that I asked on logistic basics. Series of questions from one logic to other. Connectivity, I'm going to the next level of logistic and reasoning, let us say. It involves reasoning, conclusion, appreciation, presence of mind, and taking the time for knowing what is saying what is known and trying to know what should be known and all that. Let me come to that. How will you put an elephant into a refrigerator? What's the answer? Okay, so you seem to be knowing this reasoning. Okay, so you open the refrigerator and push the elephant inside. How will you keep a giraffe into the fridge? Take out. So it shows that already the memory you have in memory that elephant is inside. So unless it comes out, you can't occupy the space. You have to push the giraffe inside after taking out. Now the king of the forest is calling for a conference. And in the conference, he has invited everybody. Who is that who will miss out this conference? Only giraffe, because second person who has gone in is giraffe, who cannot come out, right? And you want to cross the river, which is inhabited in that same forest by a team of crocodiles. How will you manage the situation? Crocodiles are already in the meeting. So, you know what happens? You can swim across, you can cross. So, these are all like trying to get the person's attention, mindset in such a way that you are fully focused on knowing, foreseeing, and feed forwarding. So, feed forwarding and foreseeing all that is going for further feedback, and assessment is all about this. The question now is on, if I ask you, what are the various differences, different differences that you can think of assessment and evaluation? If I go into the dictionary and if I go for translation of the words, it will only say madipidu in Tamil. It doesn't say any difference, but there are a lot of differences. So let's say, I'll just say the attribute of evaluation or assessment at random. But you say the attribute is exactly to assessment or to evaluation. That answer should come from you. Are you ready? Do you understand my question? I will give certain characters, certain attributes, certain important aspects related to either assessment or restricted to either assessment or evaluation. There are it's certain that there are so many commonalities between assessment and evaluation. I will ignore them knowingly. And I'll go for assessment, evaluation attributes. You connect them either to assessment or to evaluation and say, sir, this is assessment. This is not evaluation. This is evaluation. This is not assessment. Right? Is it possible? Now, conclusive. Conclusive. Is it assessment or evaluation? Okay, grading. Evaluation. End of the session. Evaluation. Why you are not confident? You have been doing it. You have been implementing it. Not without knowing. Without knowing if it is done, it's like climbing to have swum across the Pacific Ocean, not even having learned the first stroke of swimming. So I'm on the first stroke of swimming. So you are already great educators, having been doing it for over years and even decades in your life. Okay? So when you say judgment comes where? In assessment or evaluation? Evaluation. You don't judge anything in assessment? Judgment. Now you have series of processes for judgment. Is evaluation or assessment? It's a process, continuous process in series for judgment. Okay, now you want to merit a child based on assessment or based on evaluation. You want to keep the position or the marks, awards, final awards, evaluation. Now you want to give a feedback to a child based on the lesson, assessment. Now you want to see how far have the child understood your lesson. Evaluation or assessment? It's assessment. Teaching and testing. What is evaluation? Teaching and testing. Which is assessment? Which is evaluation? Which is more? Teaching is more toward assessment or evaluation? Teaching is more towards assessment, and testing is more towards evaluation. But if a testing is for feedback, testing is to change your methodology of teaching. Testing is to make sure the child is able to cope up and recoup with all the concepts taught. Testing is for the bright child to go for a centum, or for a weak child to comfortably pass. All that will be evaluation. No, assessment, yes. So, you are more or less very clear about assessment and evaluation. But let us throw light on these aspects and see how best the education system, NEP, NCRT, CBSE, and Aditya's procedures are aligning themselves with the help of your brilliance for our children to be assessed and evaluated to come up with the colors, true colors of high merit positions, right? So there may be many slides, but I'm not really going to focus on all the slides. There are certain slides which really has certain details that you will be using it for implementation. Many slides are only to throw light on the aspects related to the assessment evaluation, but the policy decisions, practices, guidelines, patterns, and the implementation strategies, circulars, notifications, and the current trends, annexures, and the changing patterns, and the aspects related to the education that is going to relate your methodology in assessing and evaluation. All that will be aspects of this, and we will also go into the types of questions that are coming other than the logistic and reasoning that I have started with, which is not for our children on a formal basis. This is formative and it is summative. Which is formative? Which is formative? Assessment or evaluation? Assessment is formative and summative is this. So before we go into the year end, which is prescribed pattern and prescribed syllabus, assessment or evaluation? Pattern is prescribed, and question paper, syllabus also is prescribed. Everything is defined. Which is defined? Evaluation is defined, assignment is defined. Assignment is flexible. Evaluation is not flexible, because need pattern means need pattern. Pattern based preparation means success is for sure. Knowing the pattern is the secret of success in every examination, which is summative. So these are the ideas that one should have when we go into this. So evaluation basically covers assessment, because in evaluation you have series of processes for the final judgment, but assessment helps in getting the child to go for a best judgment aspect. And analysis, performance of child, so you can give the feedback analysis, and you can say how the child can improve further. You can also modify your methodology, your content, and your examples, and necessary illustrations in your teaching. That will go a long way to bring about a sea change in the way the child is able to capture and recoup with the lessons that the child has missed in the regular classes. And then improvement necessary, results, and feedback. So all these are aspects, various aspects of evaluation. Similar such aspects can be seen to be covered under the word curriculum, which is a very, very comprehensive term. So many things, over a dozen things come in curriculum, including methodology, defined patterns, preparation for the examination, defined lessons and the periods allotted, timetable. So many things come, including the references and the guidelines for preparation. Curriculum, while you talk about syllabus, it's not very comprehensive. It's just like assessment in evaluation, the syllabus in curriculum. So let's try to understand the terminologies as educators to go well with the prescribed curriculum transaction. Next. Now, this is the opening statement that I thought be very important. You may not be able to read that, but even if you're not able to read it, let's focus on the content. I'm really sorry, I've got the contents too much in a slide, which is not supposed to be, but I can read and highlight for you to focus and have a clear idea on what's happening. Knowing is one way to fix the issues. You won't be, I'm promising, able to fix any problem unless you find the problem. If founder sir calls me for an indication, it's for me to be easy to fix the problem. So indications, you as educators indicate the child for fixing their problem so they'll be able to achieve. You are also allowed and you are also expected. It's in fact a great contribution for you as educator, as members of Aditya, to go to the superior and say, so this is what I feel. So indication is very important, right? The education landscape in India is going through a paradigm shift due to the advent of NEP 2020. When I joined this institution, in the first conference I had, I told that day by 20 subjects will not exist. I didn't know that NEP 2020 will come. And NEP 2020 says interdisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary approach, and all that. Because Founder Sir always used to say, what has been has been well established, well founded, and well settled, and well implemented hasn't even entered into our system now. What's education? You understand? So that's the education that we are trying to level up with. So the advice that is coming from CBSE, from the management of Aditya, from NCRT guidelines, from Directorate of School Education are all certain areas where we have to be very keen. But when I send the circulars and notification, I don't even get an iota of anybody having seen it, read it thoroughly. That shows that you are ignoring your profession. How can you be professional? Don't call yourself professional. When you ignore the directions and circulars that comes to you from the visionary areas, let it be CBSE, NCRT, and management of Aditya, whatever it is. The principal is mediating. Vice principal is mediating. In charges are mediating. Ultimately, it has to drip down to the level of each child, leaving no child behind. For them all to be the cream of the crop. So please understand, the trust on you is too much. Focus on proposing the revision and revamping of all aspects of the education structure, including the assessment tools for evaluating the performances of the learners. Focus on regular formative and competency-based assessments and holistic measurement of learning has become vital to capture learning data and monitor the learning levels of the learners. Learning levels of learners is subject to the subject that you teach as a subject expert. Don't forget. CBSE initiated the study of assessment patterns followed by the schools affiliated to the board to bring about the NEP warranted metamorphosis in the assessment system and to establish a robust mechanism to enable learners attain desired learning outcomes. I always tell that you have the content, learning objectives, teaching, learning practices, evaluation items, and the use of audiovisual aids. These are the four components that an educator is focusing on while planning the delivery of a lesson, the transaction of the curriculum and syllabus completion. So you have the educational objectives, teaching, learning practices, pattern, Karyagram. And then Mulyankan, evaluation. Then you have Sahayak Vastu, Sahayak Samagri, teaching aids. All these four for each learning objectives, recall, recognize, introduce, apply, interpret, analyze, distinguish, compare, draw, any objective. They all should have parallel teaching learning practices, and there should be evaluation procedure for evaluation through assessment and use of teaching aids. So ignore any aspect, I promise. you will not make the children reach their bus. And it's simply calling a day. So CBSE has initiated, I mean, very intriguing details that has gone into CBSE's practices on analyzing what exactly should be the pattern or the exam questions as per the pattern. Are they aligning with the outcomes, and are they aligning our students of India, our nation, to prove their result and competency at par with the results that the other boards of other nations are publishing. So many things, a very large slides I have. I don't think I'll be able to go through them, but if it is required, we'll go into that. So the board has tried to bring the affiliated schools of the board to the NEP warranted metamorphosis in the assessment system. The study aims to provide relevant empirical evidence to enable informed decisions at both policy level and operational level to harmonize the existing assessment structure with NAP's overall assessment strategy. So I may be able to concentrate on too many things of NAP and CBSE, NCRT and National Curriculum Framework, National Credit Framework. All these are not my cup of tea today, but I think I should be focusing more on the assessment area. So let's go into look into assessment. The board partnered with Oxford University Press to conduct the study. This is particularly critical as the grades below 10 are formally structured. Please try to understand when you speak to the parents who are coming for admission in class 11. Don't forget to say as teachers of class 9, 10, as teachers of class 11 and 12. Please try to make the parents and the students understand that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th is one step ahead each class. 10 to 11 is one floor to next floor. 24 steps minimum. The effort should be such that 24 times the efforts of class 10 for the student who is the topper of 10. For the student who is with 300 out of 500, is not going to succeed with science group in 11. So let this be a comprehensive idea for the children's competency to be proven. Otherwise, you admit as per the child's need or parents' need. Parent will say, you wanted it, so I got it from school. Child will say, you only forced me to study, so I'm not able to. And the teacher will say, sir, basic itself is basic. What basic? We ask CBSE why this much of giant leap in 11th curriculum compared to 10th, the next grade. It's not your problem, Mr. Nadesan, because it's optional for each child to choose the subject. It's their decision. So please try to make it clear objectively when you are allotting the subject to the children. Next. See, there may be few details that I may be discussing, keeping the time behind me, even though the time goes ahead. But that will be related to the experience that I feel that everyone has to universally catch up. Session inclusion. In this session, on behalf of Aditya Vidyashram, I would like to express I am privileged and feel to have my share in a prestigious task to explore the impact of assessment patterns followed by CBSE affiliated schools with a special focus on 6 to 12 because evaluation is more important in 6 to 12. Assessment is more important in KG to 5 because the teacher is hand holding the children. As the child goes to higher class, hand holding level decreases. Aditya is delighted in conducting this research and envisages that the outcome will benefit us in mapping curriculum design and execution to the global requirement of outcome driven learning and thereby empower our teachers. Please try to understand the global requirement we are working on. It's not just for us to be top in a city, top in the school for a child, or top in our UT of coastal beauty, and top in the nation. So let's align our success at par with the international level. This study stems from National Education Policy 2020 thrust on attaining a desirable level of literacy and numeracy by ramping up the overall level appropriate skills and knowledge of learners and building their proficiencies to match global program. The global program, you must be knowing PISA. CBSE has a keen tie-up with the PISA, and PISA is working on the standards and the standards of our students should match with the standard of PISA that is set for its establishment to be proven. We are, if you have not yet done it, we are yet to, then we have to work for. So let's have this assessment and evaluation session for implementation to the PISA standards. We prime the application of appropriate pedagogy. That's where our HOE is coming in with the STEM and STEAM projects, and our management is visionary in making us approach the curriculum transaction and the practices for its successful implementation for the effective learning outcomes. So outcome-based teaching is very essential nowadays. For that, competency for you is essential. The competency requires training, training by the experts, and your involvement in learning. Otherwise, you will be out of date. Curriculum and instruction design, and finally, effective assessment design. Next. Now, please go back. You've taken a look at it. If a word evaluation says, what are the words that come in your mind? Can you say, just pronounce? That was the fifth slide. But can you say, when I think of evaluation, I come across these words. Can you spontaneously, throw out the words? Come on. If I leave, this room will be filled with the words related to evaluation in couple of minutes. If every one of you says couple of words also about evaluation, can you say what's all about evaluation? One word each. Performance, analysis. Wait, one by one. Feedback, improvement, result, assessment. Very good. Feedback already told. Analysis has come. Merit positioning, improving, testing. By the way, the word test, what is the etymology of test? The word test has come from the word testum, which is a Greek word, which means an earthen part that was used to show whether the metal kept is really gold or not. So to know the purity, it was used. So you use test to know the purity of the learning by the child, right? That's the etymology. Right, so let's see what are the words that go with the word evaluation in the next slide. Come on. So it's a process to find the reach of learning experiences for desired results. You have used, thanks to your ideas on that. Results, you said. Learning, I don't know, you have said. Basically, evaluation also concentrates on learning, involves identifying the strengths and weakness. You said feedback, right? Makes it possible to note the effectiveness of curriculum, right? Curriculum is very comprehensive word. So how effective is it? That comes through evaluation. Essential to determine the attainment of educational objectives. This is what you start with any class. When you go into the class and they say, good morning, children, and then you start writing on the board, the write up on the board shows at the end of the lesson, at the end of this instructional period, the child, each student will be able to do what. That is not planned. Why should I learn this lesson? Is given to the child before you start the lesson. Otherwise, don't start the lesson, please. Essential to determine the attainment of educational objectives, lay focus on the desirable changes in the behavior patterns of the student. These desirable changes are basically desirable outcomes. There shouldn't be anything that is not mentioned there, then it will become undesirable. Determines the degree to which these changes in behavior actually occur, the extent of its impact. Next. Why and what of evaluation? Let's dwell deeper into this evaluation again. So by the end of the session, I hope you'll be at least have a very clear idea of why assess, why evaluate, right? Why do you want to evaluate? So it's highlighted concerns about providing better teaching, Are you really concerned about your better teaching? Do you think your children should appreciate at the end of the day the lesson that you have taught and they carry home, study comfortably, discuss with the friends, even tell the parents that yes, it has become very clear to me now because having been taught by the teacher, thanks to his efforts, illustrations, diagrams, and the explanation and the interaction that he has maintained in the class. Right? The need to examine the impact of a new program, the need to ascertain course strengths, collecting and presenting information, assess the educational quality. So quality also comes there in evaluation. What do you want to evaluate? So why is that? What do you want to evaluate? When it comes to what you want to evaluate, it's desired effect. Whether the teaching has caused the desirable effect in the child, improved the performance of child. You know, this improvement in performance is something that you have to really go not for feedback, but feed forward. Opposite of feedback. Feed forwarding is something that Indians are not good compared to others. Feedback forward is not something really better for human beings compared to plants and animals. Scientifically, I can prove this by several mechanisms that we every day see observing the plants and animals. If you are really curious about it, we can have a session on feed forwarding. Why are we very weak compared to plants and animals? Why are they successful in the way they live? Why are we too much dependent on others? Because lack of feed forwarding. And it's just not the problem due to lack of feed forwarding for us, it's a problem for others. If you are driving a car, just relax. Listen to me. You are driving a car. You know the car tire has half a button. The brake lining lever is not fully functioning. So it's not going to suddenly break up. And your clutch plate engagement with the second gear is not proper because the tooth of the gear has broken. You know that. The clutch is half condition. The accelerator free play is extra to the normal free play. The brake lining, brake shoe also is half burnt. You understand? And these are all the conditions you know about. Your engine is half condition. You know, this is intrinsic factors. And when you're driving, your car is at, let's say, 68 kilometer per hour speed. And over 200 meters ahead, you're finding a divider. People are trying to cross. 22 people are trying to cross. The road is slippery because of the drizzling there. An early morning, gloomy day, drizzling. Okay. And if you apply brake at this 68 kilometer speed, after covering 100 meters, you will dash against the people who are trying to cross because you know your brake intrinsic condition, extrinsic condition. So immediately, when you are observing this intrinsic and extrinsic factors at 200 meters, you react. Otherwise, the braking distance will not be able to take you safe or keep the people on road safe. This is feed forwarding. Are we good at that? It comes not just by learning, but by practicing. Efficiency, expertise in practice, driving, perfect driving, decision making, and automatic spontaneity in your action. That all should happen as a teacher when you are feed forwarding the future of every child. So we are driving in that condition. So why do you want to, what do you want to evaluate? Desired effect, improving the performance, and positive acceptance by the class. Or is there any lack of interest in anybody in the class? So these are the things that make you to evaluate. Next. The four-phase process in designing assessment includes acquisition of data, exploration, data analysis, and report publication. These four aspects, if you come to report publication, it incorporates assessment related solutions and recommendations from experts and consultants to be able to understand the present trends and patterns in assessment and make informed data supported conclusions. So you have the result analysis based on the you work. It could be assessment result for test, test results for your periodical revision for periodic test. Then you have the term test for the periodic revision assessment, data analysis, information report, and its confirmation. Then comes final term end examination, second term or session end examination, where the child is able to do well to go perfectly to the standard or the higher class. Next, means and ends theory is something that I always believe. So end of everything is a means for the next task. So when you are believing in this, you will also take every assessment to be the means for the next level. So the child is going to finally perform so well. So in evaluation, the terms means and ends are often used to distinguish. Means is the process or methods used to achieve a goal. How will I be able to reach there? Will I be able to catch my bus? Right? Ends, the ultimate outcomes or objectives that are intended to be achieved. Okay, so the end of a means can be achievement of a goal, which becomes the means for the next goal, for which you have the objectives. In evaluation practice, it's crucial to consider both means and ends comprehensively. Now, observe the breakdown. Let me go first with the means. If it is not really much clear with a precise definition on top, we can go further into the breakdown of means and ends. The strategies, interventions, actions, processes employed to achieve a particular goal or objective is means. It includes various activities, resources, tools, approaches utilized in a program, project, or initiatives. Over and again, I go to schools, I observe virtual inspection also of several schools for affiliation purpose, for squad purpose, for so many other purposes. When I do, I always conclude when I address the teachers in the presence of the management of that school, which also is the same situation on the same dais, on the same information I'm presenting now. Mobilization of the sources, resources made available by the management. Whose responsibility is this ultimately? Who will mobilize the resources made available? Who is the ultimate beneficiary? The children. And who will mobilize the resources made available by the management? If it is not done, who will do? And if you can't do it, I tell you, I promise you, no one else can do it. But you can still have the freedom to ask for more resources. Management is not saying there are not much of schools, maybe one or two or maximum maybe 4% of the schools in the globe or nation might have management which is saying yes to something that the educator is asking for the beneficiaries to get really benefited. But even after having made the resources available, you don't mobilize it. What's your role as a member of the institution, as an educator in the field of education? Seriously, let's think about it. Because I never fail to say this, and I don't say it for the sake of saying. Please try to understand. Let it go deeper into your deep psyche now, not later. If not now, you don't have a place here. I don't have a place here. Why are we here? Include various activities, resources, tools, and approaches utilized in a program, project, or initiatives. Assessing the effectiveness of the means involves examining whether the chosen strategies or actions are appropriate, efficient, and well executed. These are the means concepts on this. Let's go now to observe what's there in ends. Next slide. Ends, outcomes or objectives to represent the ultimate desired results are impacts of a program, project, or intervention. Ends articulate the intended changes or benefits that stakeholders aim to achieve. End outcomes can be short term, intermediate, or long term. If I give a word and I give four synonyms, okay, if I say deliberately, means purposely, knowingly, wantedly, okay, and ask the child to say any two synonyms for deliberately, then they'll be able to say immediately. So instantaneous outcome, right? Use the word deliberately in the sentence. Make your own sentence and categorically place the synonyms in a paragraph while you are explaining something. So in such cases, it becomes a long-term outcome. So short-term, intermediate, long-term, reflecting different stages of progress towards the overarching goal. Evaluation of ends involves assessing whether the desired outcomes have been achieved, to what extent, and the implication of these outcomes on the learners. Because they have achieved, they are able to perform. They're able to distinguish, they're able to analyze, they are able to apply, they are able to extend, they are able to compare and contrast. Like evaluators examine the intended outcomes have been achieved, the effectiveness of the strategies and processes used to attain these outcomes. The holistic approach helps stakeholders gain insights into what works, why it works, and how to improve future interventions. Intervention is a word that CPSC also at times uses. When a child is not able to perform, you feel that the child will be able to perform. Not able to perform, but will be able to perform. So your hand holding, your intervention is going to help child perform better. Don't ignore your role there, because that is a boosting factor for the child to rise further very fast. But the confidence and the comfort nobody can give other than you as a teacher of your subject to your child. Next. Functions of CBSE. Let's come back to the functions. You see, you've got a comprehensive function that CBSE is just not Central Board of Secondary Education or examination. It's not just an examining body, although we can refer to it as the National Board of Examination, right? Out of the 3 National Board of Education, CBSE is one. What is next? Second. 3 National Board of Education, CBSE is one. ICSE mostly for education continuing overseas beyond our nation. Third one, both are regular, but one is distant. One is not regular. The other third one is NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling. Now, when you talk about these 3, one is not regular, but out of the other 2, why you say regular? What does the word regular means? I'm coming to you because you should not ignore that word regular. CBA is the National Board of Education, but it's a regular, on regular basis. Why it is regular? Why NIOS is not regular? Yes, what's the answer? NIOS is not online. What is the word regular emphasizes? You go into examination bylaws, it speaks of the word. Affiliation bylaws doesn't speak much of it. It speaks only examination bylaws has got too much of reference to the word regular. Why the regular? The children are sitting under the ceiling created by the Aditya management, supported by the teacher, given to the children. And the teachers are marking the attendance and ensuring that not less than 70% seating by the child in the classroom instruction. That is regular. If the child is having less than 75, the child is not regular, not qualified for candidature in the examination. You understand? So please try to make the parent in the parent-teacher meeting realize that it's a regular scheme. There is no excuse for it, not just for the sake of attendance, but also for the child to get the exact teaching in continuity. So the conceptual understanding doesn't lack, difficulty doesn't arise in knowing and learning the lessons. So now I am coming to the concept of evaluation and assessment, responsible for evaluating answer scripts, declaring results, and issuing certificates to successful candidates, including the 0.1% certificate and the merit certificate, pass certificate come statement of marks, all that board is giving. Apart from the normal examination of SSC and SSCE, board also conducts seated. Now having NTA come the other examination that were the responsibilities of board has gone now to the National Testing Agency. But still, the research part and the next objective based instructions and the programs that CBSE is coming up with is in progress, right? So the evaluation aspect, when one teacher in CBSE affiliated institution working for over years and even over decades will understand the processes, principles, and the guidelines and the mechanism, everything through the experience as teacher, as evaluator, as head examiner, as assistant examiner, as chief nodal supervisor, and also as the subject teacher who is setting the paper setter, right? So in all such experiences you come to understand, get a concrete grip on what exactly are the essentials in assessment and evaluation. So you become the best assessor and best evaluator for child. Next. So the evaluation assessment involved in CBSE system, because I've touched upon one of the functions of the CBSE, I've come now to elaborate on this important function that CBSE has. If you consider evaluation and assessment, think of a rifle, right? Which is the most valuable part in the rifle? Making the rifle to be functional and critical also, crucial also, the bullet. Assessment evaluation is like a bullet. You can call the institution or the gun or the rifle, because the bullet decides the fate of everything, right? The shooter as well as the target. Everything, the fate of everything is decided on the bullet. So assessment and evaluation is like bullet in an institution. How you handle it is the fate. Try not to forget this analogy, because you have to do it very carefully. Don't ignore the care that it deserves. For the sake of children, board examination cover the entire syllabus prescribed for 10 and 12. Okay, but while preparing the children for 10 and 12, we also prepare them in other classes so they get completely, essentially tuned to their success in board examination. The internal assessment, IAs, that's your responsibility, that's your power. You don't use it for disciplining the child, at least in the class in which you teach, with a lot of concern for every child to be disciplined and learning. You should make them not by threatening, but by making them realize that you are the sole authority to give. All 600 students of a school or 60 students of a school, all A plus in all the subjects. I don't know. Do you mean to say that all your 5 fingers are the same size and same? All are important, I know. All are my fingers. I can't ignore any finger. I can't call anything to be superior or inferior. They are all important for me, but they are not equal. Why do you say all children are equal? Do not allow the merited child with the too much of efforts trying to come up with a life. The parent has written a letter for Founder Sir has forwarded. The parent is saying not even talking to anybody, not even attending any functions, not leaving the book for even food. The child has been trying for the position, merit position to be figured out in the school banner of toppers. Oh, come on, in such cases, you should understand how your internal assessment should value that child who deserves to be merit position, while the others are ignoring your own teaching in your own lesson. Make them realize and feel the difference, and enforce that they take up this. Internal assessment evaluates students throughout the academic year, including periodic tests, projects, practical exam, and other things. Continuous comprehensive evaluation system is still there in practice, but it's not in grading system for board, but it's still the periodic test, term tests, and the assessment pattern, including the student enrichment activities. Everything becomes essential aspects of CCE. Don't think that by practice it is ignored. It is not ignored, and don't ignore. Grading system is typically used by CBSE to evaluate students' performance rather than traditional marks. Subjective and objective assessment, MCQs and descriptive patterns. Both are there. Practical exams are there. They are also with the prescribed practicals to be covered periodically along with the theory lessons and exam either by external or internal or by both. Next. Now, assessments include projects, practicals, ASL assessment, assessment of speaking and listening test. Now, if you think of the number of subjects whose combination allowed by CBSE for the students to be examined, it goes to more than 4018. So many combinations of subjects. Okay, and allowing the students to freely opt for the subjects and study. But if you categorically place them under assessment or evaluation, it comes under just three categories. Theory marks with the practical and investigatory project. You know the subject physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, informatics practices, all that comes there. Then theory marks with projects. So you go out, visit the company and collect the data and submit your report. That is commerce related, economics, accountancy and all comes under that. Then mathematics comes under activity and ASL comes under activity, theory with activity. So activity with the theory, project with the theory, practical investigative project with the theory. That's all, these three categories. Other than these three categories, if you think of subjects are existing in CBSE, is only skill-based subjects. Okay, they are not coming under this kind of evaluation as core elements of CBSE evaluation. So try to understand. So having this 80-20, 70-30 and 30-70, you know, this division for theory and assessment, internal assessment has to be kept in mind. So while guiding the children for the prospective scoring, this idea will help you. So projects, practical assessments. For each of these components, students are usually given guidelines by their teachers or CBSE board regarding expectations, grading criteria and deadlines. When the external comes for all these three core subject evaluation, and the external appointed by CBSE is only to ensure as a public advisory that the internal is following the grading system, marking system and the question paper pattern evaluation as per the guidelines in the curriculum. Every year CBSE publishes curriculum. The curriculum design gives a broad outline of how these essentials have to be adhered to. Next. Source-based, course-based questions. In the beginning, when I'm talking about NEP, based on the research carried out, NEP has taken out the results of the CBSE and they have come up with the proposals to modify the pattern of questions and modify the question paper types. So they are all classed under one category called competency-based questions, CBQs. In that, course-based questions are there. Okay, case-based questions are there. Situation-based questions are there. Efficiency-based questions are there. So many types of questions are there, but mostly it talks about the source-based and course-based. Course-based will be covering the case-based questions also. That is mostly not under the law profile, but also case-based questions can be seen. I got certain examples that you can go with. When you talk about source-based and course-based are something that deserves highlight on, because these are the two types of questions that our teachers, you are supposed to make the children good at, right? So source-based questions are designed to assess students' ability to analyze and interpret information. Okay, sources will be provided. Sources may include text, articles, graphs, charts, maps, historical documents, or multimedia materials. When you go for IELTS and TOEFL and the DELF and other exams, you definitely get such questions. So if the children are good at this in CBSE system, their distinction, their score band will be high due to this practice. Students are typically asked to read or view the source material and answer questions based on that. So they have to go over the source and then they answer. I'll show you some questions of that type. Course-based questions. They are based on the content covered in the curriculum. They assess students' understanding on key concepts, Course-based questions may vary depending on the subject, class, and level of exam. It includes objective as well as subjective. And its subjective can be very short answer, long answer, something like that. Objective could be multiple choice, fill in the blanks, match the following. Yes or no also comes under, optional choice questions. Tick yes or no, right? Match the following, fill in the blank, all that. Okay. Fill in the blank when the choices are given in bracket. It's optional type, just like multiple choice, right? Next. Source-based question, you can see one question I've taken for example. What exactly source-based question? Here you have a source-based question where you have the speech delivered by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar during a Constituent Assembly debate in 1949. That speech is becoming the source for the questions that are asked. So you can see now how this example demonstrates a source-based question in a subject like political science. It might provide a historical document to analyze and respond to questions, and it could range from factual comprehension to critical analysis. In English, you use this factual passage, descriptive passage. So, paragraph writing, passage writing in English in 11 and 12 has got too much of questions of this type, for which the child doesn't have to by heart or learn by rote. So instead of rote learning, the child's presence of mind will help. And if you are going to prepare for IELTS or TOEFL or any examination of international standard, international recognition, quality and eligibility, please make sure you get used to these questions by solving repeatedly over and again and again and again. So your comfort will be great in such a way that you have a clear mindset in the examination hall during these examinations. 7 years, 4 years, 2 years of continuous payment to the coaching center and going for writing the exam, having practiced the paper shared by the IELTS TOEFL will not help you. You will fail and come back with a 6 or 5 out of 9. But if you have a proper mindset, presence of mind in the examination hall, on the first day, even without knowing the pattern of IELTS and TOEFL, you'll come up with 8 on 9. It's possible because you have been into it for over years through your teaching or through your tendency to get into such questions. So if CBSE is taking up this for our children, that is to make sure at international platform they are successful. They don't give up. There is no chance for any child of your teaching to pronounce or say OMG. You know OMG? Oh my God, don't say that. Yesterday, sir was telling, for anything that is asked to you, you have no answer, don't say no. Postpone saying no. That thing. When somebody is asking a question, you don't know the answer, let me look into it. I think I need time. I think I put less effort. I will come back to you on that. I will surely try. And I'm sure bit of time I'll be giving out. These are the ways to say no. Use a language to say no. All means no only. There are so many words to say, statements to say no. But why say no? Simple, one syllable, one accent, one stress. That's not really fair. Well, teach this to children also. Like next we can go. It's about source-based question. You can go to next slide. Sikaram ponga. Case-based questions. I have 35 minutes. I have 22 minutes. Case-based questions give access students critical thinking, problem-solving ability, and it is more essential for subjects like business studies, economics, social science, science. So case-based questions can be very interesting for them because analytical thinking and communicative abilities are very high for higher understanding efficiency. So next, just go back. This is the last sentence. Educators shall provide guidance on the specific formats and types of questions students can expect in their examination. That's your part. So prepare well. When you design the paper, concentrate on this part. Next. Case-based question, one example I've taken. Again, a speech by Jawaharlal Nehru, written by Mahatma Gandhi to Jawaharlal Nehru. This statement you can see has got a question that follows the statement. This example demonstrates how a source-based question in a subject like history might provide a historical document. In this case, the document is the letter written by Mahatma. This students can analyze and respond to questions that could range from factual comprehension to critical analysis. I have certain questions that you can try to solve, but I've taken for your comfort the questions to be really easy to. So every one of you can answer all the questions in such cases of case-based and source-based studies. Next. Now, the plethora of details, the resources that are made available by NCRT. When children come out of the exam hall back in 92, I remember, um, after the 12th exam, I used to ask them, how was the paper? They used to cry, literally. Sir, कहाँ से हम जो भी एनसीईआरटी किताब में है वो सब हम पढ़ लिए हैं, पूरा रट लिए हैं, बिल्कुल स्पष्ट हम जानते हैं, लेकिन कहाँ से सीबीएसई पूछ लिया, कुछ भी पता नहीं, समझ में नहीं आया. You know, sir, we are reading everything from NCERT book, but where from CBSE is asking. Now CBSE says if you don't follow NCERT, your school's affiliation stands to be cancelled. Circular. And if you open the NCERT site, my God, the dream is true. Truly available there. You can see the NCERT content. This examination material that CBSE has for the children to prepare for CBSE examination. It has got exam marking scheme, and the question paper samples, the handbook of frequently asked questions, model answer by the candidates written in the examination, same paper as it is, photographed and shared, and the FAQ contents in the exam. Then you have model answers with the candidate, previous year question papers, all that year-wise, class-wise is there. So the subsequent year papers can be taken and that can be practiced. Questions can be taken from this and given to the children for practice. All that, this is from the CBSE site only I've taken. It is resource material. If you go to the icon, you will click on that, you will get all these details. You go and click on anything 10th or 12th or any material that you require. They are all available. So you can make use of this. Next. For the evaluation. Now the school quality assessment and assurance. If you see this, this is SQA is a framework. It's rightly named as a framework because it doesn't aim at grant of accreditation, grant of affiliation or approval or recognition, nothing. You assess your own school's functionalities. It's over 4,820 questions are there in SQA, and the modules and the domains aim at allotting percentage of marks, and out of 100 you have 60, 10 each, 6 modules. One module has one domain has got 40 marks. You know which one? With 40 percentage, one domain. The rest 6 domain has got 10 marks each, 10 percentage each. Which is that has got majority of 40% out of 100 is your academic. Your teaching, testing, assessment, evaluation, academics. 40%, because all the other 6 domains comes on this. So if you're perfecting doing that, maybe your score in the final score sheet of SQA assessment by CBSE will go above 70. I just want to share 2 examples here regarding the SQA before I go into it. So you all should know what's your role in SQA assessment of our institution. I visited one school which was supposed to be the top school in Delhi, and that school we assessed, and when the final score after assessment over 2 days we assess every component, and when the final score sheet is taken out, we got the mark to be 68%. Then I thought 68% for your school is really less than what the school deserves. Now we thought we will try to edit the score award. Then each domain has got modules. You have questions. The first, second, third, fourth, fifth questions. Like first question not answered means all the other questions get cancelled. So second question not answered means like that. So we went first, second answer. So it is 10 mark. Let us say third question we put no. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, all are correct. So because of the third question not done, all others becomes invalid. So artificial intelligence, so it does mark on that basis. So like this, we went to around 22 domains, and we took the questions and we tried to moderate, and then we took the final score out after the moderation, editing the response. Then it came out to be, say 82%. This is one school, let us say. It's a score sheet finalized. Because we have evidences for giving yes to all the questions. The other school, the school was visited and the award score sheet mark that the school had by submission of self-appraisal was 100%. And when we awarded the mark was 22%. It came to 22%. So self-appraisal is something that makes you realize where you stand. When somebody comes and assesses you, you assess for 60 and they assess you for 70. You assess yourself for 100 and then it comes out to be 22. Now you see where you stand, how you cut a sorry figure in front of the assessor. So whether it is NABERT accreditation, SQUAT accreditation, or any assessment, please make sure self-appraisal is giving you idea to understand, realize your role, your work, your evidences, and then further the assessor should be appreciative of your efforts for having practiced and having evidence. Okay, so the problem in India is that भारत में सरकार कागज में चलती है. Laws do not find their way in practice. Government runs on papers. If anybody is here to say no, I have seen as it is in the law, practice is there, then it deserves to be really appreciated because the person on hold for the sustenance of steadfastness of the law deserves to be worshipped. The country's prosperity believes in self-appraisal. CBSE believes in self-appraisal. NABERT believes in self-appraisal. QCA believes in self-appraisal. Aditya Management believes in self-appraisal. You go for your self-appraisal. Be your own assessors. And then assess the children. Assess the evaluator. You don't raise your level to the CBSE expectation, Cambridge expectation, HOE's expectation, Founders' expectation. Then you're assessing the nature of the child also will be with a less expectation on the children. Have more expectation on the children. That will happen if you expect high on your own assessment score. So if you see here, you can see scholastic processes alone has 25%. Next, see the domains. And these domains, when we evaluate the aspect, you can see it's thousands of questions, out of which I've taken only few questions for which response has to be given by the assessing team or the self-assessor. It's mostly principal who does self-assessment in the institution. So learning indicators, outcomes are used as checkpoints to assess child's learning at. That is assessment related questions. Are we doing this in the school? That's how it comes in the score assessment. Second question, the school has defined procedures and criteria to regularly assess the students' performance and uses the results to improve their performance. If you're doing yes, you will say yes, otherwise no. But you say yes and you don't have the evidence. If somebody comes from CBSE and asks for evidence, you don't have it, they will give yes or no. What will they give? You say yes to this question, and when they come, you don't have the evidence or proof or document or record. They don't have the record. Will they give yes or no? So what will happen to your score? It will go down. And like this, it's not one or two questions, it's thousands of questions in several domains of so many modules. Varied assessment tools and techniques are used to assess the performance of the students. What varied assessments? What are your evidences? Teachers prepare balanced questions papers and assess the performance of students. How balanced is your test paper? How original is your test paper? If I prepare a question paper in my subject for my students in a particular test, the same test comes on the same chapter for next class or next section or next branch or next year. Do I use the same question? Or I go back to take the chapter and using my subject knowledge, I prepare another paper. If I use the same question paper, I'm stealing my own brain. Why are you stealing your own brain? It will stagnate, it will never grow. Allow your brain capability, efficiency to grow by not stealing your own paper. Why you steal others' paper? Why you steal from internet? One question takes 20 minutes, or how will I do that? Finish preparing and see how happy you are. You needn't be happy, but you will still feel at one day that, oh my God, his papers are so wonderful. Somebody at some place will value your efficiency and the effort that you have put in. It speaks a lot. Try that. Otherwise, professionally, your competency will seldom grow. Teachers prepare balanced questions. The school ensures 70% attendance of its students. It comes in assessment. The school ensures all students achieve and progress on their development. Leave no child behind. Let all be the cream of the crop. Right next. So this is about the score. So this is only a small section, infinitesimally smaller area of the assessment of the score procedure, but it has got so many questions. Like that, deeply it goes into every frontier. Every aspect of institutional procedures are analyzed and appreciated like that and ensure that. So if that is the case, we'll have to be very knowledgeable into it. The key process involved in development of test instrument. Yes, you will be developing test, right? And now CBSE, when calls you for a test paper setting, what will they give? Do you ever know? Did you ever go and set any paper for CBSE as a paper setter? If you have gone, you will get this. Development of assessment framework, development of test blueprint or table of specifications, item development as per guidelines and standards. Here specifications to knowledge, application, understanding, specifications to educational objectives, knowledge, understanding, application skill, specifications to difficulty level, easy, moderate, and and high level. Okay, and specification to achievers level, right? So accordingly, the three specifications you will follow here: peer review of items, moderation of items, answer keys and marking scheme, selection of items which adhere to quality standards, double translation, finalization of items, development of test instruments, quality review, and translation. So many items you have to adhere when you set a paper. So you take this and follow this for your paper setting for the board exam students and those who are preparing for board exam. Your paper will be the base for their success. Your share in child success will be remembered by the child forever. Next. As an assessment framework for a test developer, if you are developing a test in the school, follow this. Fundamental purpose of the test, the target population, that is your class students, the range of content and skills to be assessed, the different response formats to be used, the length of the assessment. Here type of question, here range of content skills, I mean compare, contrast, analyze, explain, illustrate, draw, label, all that will come there. The length of the assessment and the duration of the test. While conducting, I mean preparing a test paper of under these guidelines, if you have one question in your question paper, which out of 40 students, 4 students have not answered, that is what percentage? 10 percentage. So if 10 percentage of the students have not answered, then okay, maybe 2 students did not answer a particular question, maybe. But if 40 out of 40, 20 students did not answer a question, 50% student did not find the question to be comfortable, there is something wrong in your teaching or the question is wrong. Can we take it as a standpoint? Anybody says no? 50 or more than 50% of students do not find your question answerable or comfortable. Your teaching is wrong, I'm saying, and the question is wrongly framed. Do you agree? Is there anybody to say no? Come on, take that point. You have to be very careful when you frame the question. Semantically, syntactically, and also scientifically and content. Everything should be so precise that when I see the worksheet question, which is going to appear in the final exam also sometimes in moderated form, when the parent looks at this question framed by my teacher in the worksheet, they will ask, what this teacher wants? That question coming in the mind of the parent who is trying to help the child. It's really unfair by the teacher. No ambiguity when you frame, use the language properly. Take a keen look at the diagram or refer to the diagram given below. Answer the questions that follow. You're giving, give the diagram and relevant questions you frame in such a way that the question relates to the content. And I'll show you some example. Right? Okay. Next. Two major items on response formats, constructed response and selected response. So the test items can have constructed response and selected response. Constructed response, short answer, essay and performance. Selected response, multiple choice, matching and true or false. So these are the type of questions that you'll include. Next. Constructed response item include short answer. This is descriptive type, okay, where you expect the child to construct or illustrate the answer. Next. The selected response can be including multiple choice, single correct, multiple correct. Okay, multiple correct is the toughest part in multiple choice. Okay, so you be prepared. Like next. This question everybody can answer, right? In lower classes, especially the stimulus may be supported by illustrations in the form of pictures or diagrams. Look at the question. Mani wants to show the size of the earth, moon and sun. He will use basketball, baseball and golf ball. Now, which answer is correct? Which answer is correct? A, B, C, D. Earth, moon and sun. It's not a difficult question. Basketball is the, sun is the highest, so basketball. So either this or this should be correct. Okay, so two choices are deletion. Ask the child to delete the irrelevant answers. Out of the two, you come next is moon. Moon should be the smallest. So the smallest is golf ball. So with the out of these two, golf ball is this. Finished. So this is how you ask the child to approach the question. Right? So delete the response. That is definitely considered wrong. Then go to the other rest of the answers. In that you go one by one. This is what exactly happens to the best child. Next. Now this is again a case-based social science. The content area is contemporary India, a topic, integrated agriculture, resource and development and water resource. Its level is cognitive level, understanding type question, and marks 3 and 5 to 6 minutes. Everything is specified, these specifications. So the learning outcome also is specified here. The pictures below show a type of agriculture. Explain key features, likely challenge that may arise, expected answer scores. For these questions, expected answer scores say if this is written, this is a mark. If this is partially written, this is mark. If this is written, no mark. Right? That's how marking scheme comes. So the marking scheme should say all, should leave all scope for the correct answer. Next. So the questions and marking scheme that comes to evaluators for evaluating the questions of this case-based, source-based in the CBSE exam comes like this. This in, the coded form it comes and we decode the paper and we give it to the evaluators. Evaluators use it and write. But the instruction to the evaluators is that if you justify the answer by a child, which is correct, you have the freedom to give mark. Okay, not necessary that it should be in the marking scheme. It should be justifiable as a subject expert. Next. That's why when child comes with the result, we say, what did you expect on the day of exam? We say 82, sir. But on the day when the result is declared, he comes with 85, 86. Because other than the marking scheme, the CBSE gives scope for the teacher to decide the legitimate answer, deserving answers. This, again, NCERT side, exemplar problems. Exemplar is a base for the paper setters to take question on specifications and objectives mentioned in the paper setting criteria. Okay, next. when to use multiple choice items, what are the advantages of multiple choice items, what are the disadvantages of multiple choice items, that is given here. But a wide range of learning outcomes, including simple recall of knowledge, analysis, phenomena, application, interpretation, and content development, everything can be evaluated through MCQ. The advantages includes versatility, reliability, quality in maximizing the validity of assessment, numerous item for the given amount of testing time, careful construction and efficient answering. One question MCQ for NEET or IIT type requires not less than 20 minutes if it has to be correctly framed. Disadvantages is difficult to construct MCQ, definitely. If the choices have to be accurate, no ambiguity and other things, susceptible to guessing and not adaptable to assess certain learning outcomes. Next. This board circular says how the board has taken care for the assessment practices to be for the objectives on evaluation. The circular number you can note down and please go through the circular before you go for setting the next paper, taking the next assessment or for any evaluation if you're preparing the child. It is Academic 45 2023 circular. Please go through this. It gives in detail all the other circulars related also. Next. And the assessment and evaluation as per the NEP policy, CBSE has taken steps. This step is Academic 30-2024 recent circular. This is a remodeled circular on the same subject in 2023, which has got only one change, which can be seen in the next page. Go to the next page. As it can be seen here, competency focused questions are 50%. Select response type is 2020. Again, constructed response 30. This is descriptive. These are all, as founders are always says, the percentage should lay focus more on this MCQ type, right? Now, if you see the senior secondary, that is 12th standard, competency stays the same 50. Select there, but from 20, it has 40, it has come to 30 now. This 10 is adjusted here, competency focused. Competency focus will have situational, opportunity, case, source, and course. All questions, all based questions will come under competency. We test the competency. Next. This is giving the history of how the assessment in CBSE in alignment with the NCRT, NCF, and NCRF, and NEP. Finally, it has come into figure out in the NEP guidelines. So that story is highlighted here, which you can read, go further. This study it's a mammoth task that CBSE has taken at a national level to bring about these insights into NEP guidelines. Modified system of assessment, evaluation, everything has come in there. Now, next. The recommendation that has come by the committees is discussed here. Next. Yes, try it out. I gave you before I conclude the session. I'm ahead of by 2 minutes. Now you can see a source-based question where you have a pie chart. Which sector share is maximum in the usage of surface and groundwater? The source is given here, isn't it? Look at the source, refer it, and answer the questions. That is source-based question. All questions can be answered easily. I have it in printed form. You can take it. Then case-based question, you can see the case is given. Okay. And this case-based question is on the myopia, short-sightedness, where the entire scientific and opportunistic and the application, recognition, understanding, all skills have to be applied. That kind of question is this, you can try. The competency question is like, I have to address a conference on convincing the attendees to understand everything that I deliver, like the one that I'm doing now. So how is my language so efficient, so competent, so worth, and so tuned to the audience such that everyone in the audience side is able to understand and get to know what exactly are the reports or the facts and the presentations and the guidelines that I'm presenting to them, so they will be able to adhere, and the adherent norms are very clearly given. That kind of competency in communicative ability question is this. Communication question, describe a time when you had to communicate complex information to a diverse audience. Here it is not a diverse audience. In terms of class, maybe primary to senior teacher, but in terms of field of profession, you're all same. But that is for a diverse audience. How did you ensure clarity and understanding to the audience? That question. So all these three questions are answered and in printed form. It's with me. You can take it. But if it is actually a small group of 60 nominal number, it's possible that we can have a group activity for discussion to come up with the answer next. Next. Ah, thanks. So if you have any question, you feel free to ask. Otherwise, I must extend my sincere gratitude and wish you all a very progressive academic year with the children. Thank you. Sir.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable speech and the thought provoking ideas that you have shared. It's time for a break. I request all to assemble after the break at 11:50 a.m. Tea and snacks will be provided in the lunch hall. And I entreat you to sign in the attendance sheet without fail. And the new